21st Century Fox has just withdrawn its proposal to buy Time Warner.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, Cory, didn't mean to interrupt you. I think that trumps fire, I have to say.
That's interesting.
Just crossing.
And that's very interesting.
Okay,
because
let me read from the statement that we're just getting here from the chairman and CEO, Rupert Murdoch, who says, "We viewed a combination with Time Warner as a unique opportunity to bring together two great companies, each with celebrated content and brands. Our proposal has significant strategic merit and compelling financial rationale for our approach has always been friendly. However, Time Warner management and its board refused to engage with us to explore an offer which was highly compelling. Additionally, the reaction in our share price since our proposal was made undervalues our stock and makes the transaction unattractive to Fox shareholders." He goes on to say, "These factors, coupled with our commitment to be both disciplined in our approach to the combination and focused on delivering value for Fox shareholders, has led us to withdraw our offer." So again, this news crossing now,
well,
21st Century Fox is withdrawing its offer
and
buying back $6 billion in shares.
Right. So
so pretty significant news. Cory.
Think about what this means. What they're saying here is they're not just saying this is a negotiating technique. We're taking our money off the table and we're putting it into a share buyback. This is really stunning news. You might have expected this to be in the category of you can't fire me, I quit. But this is you can't fire me, I quit, and I'm taking my talents to South Beach. I mean, they're doing this sort of spending in the buyback.
I'm taking my talents to South Beach. I like that.
Unable.
You know who I spoke to just the other day out in your neck of the woods there on the West Coast, Dick Parsons, who, of course, used to run Time Warner. And I asked him whether or not he thought a deal could get done here. And he said, I think the market is way ahead of itself. Investors are way ahead of themselves. I know the board. I know the management team. I'm the one who put most of them in place. And he said, I really think that it's going to take a whole lot more. He said he didn't like the currency. He's referring to the non-voting shares. And he didn't think it was enough of a price to get a deal done.
Think about all the other cards that are falling right now, too. So CBS, which may have been gearing itself to take on CNN, if that was spun out of a merged Time Warner and Fox, that ain't happening. Disney as well. We're waiting on earnings from Disney any minute. You would have expected a lot of questions about the CNN asset there, but that doesn't matter now as well because Time Warner is going to be, today is going to be Time Warner tomorrow without Fox's meddling, it appears.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of this is just a strategic gamesmanship. He basically dented up CNN pretty good. Oh, guess what? Murdoch is left with a competitor that's wounded without a suitor. That seems to be a little bit clever on his part. I
do want to bring Jon Erlichman into the conversation as well because he's been following this really since it broke. And Jon, it does change the equation on many, many fronts. But don't forget, investors here, they got a taste of something. And they liked the idea of Time Warner being sold. We saw that reaction, of course, in the share price where it just really hung up near that level. Did this just effectively whet their appetite? Might we see another company come along?
Well, I think Barry's onto something in terms, I mean, you see the immediate reaction to the stock price of Time Warner. The ball once again falls into Time Warner's court to sort of explain what exactly its strategy is going to be. Fox, from the beginning of this process, was going to be reluctant to raise its offer, and certainly the expectation was from many investors that that is what we would see. But the language that Time Warner used from the outset of this process, not language that would suggest we're holding out for a higher offer, but just the language that they weren't interested in doing a deal, and then to take further action essentially through regulatory filings to maybe make life more difficult for Fox. I think as clearly as that statement from Rupert Murdoch on Fox is, they weren't ready for all the potential questions they would have to answer on this story of where this goes next and how much they might have to pay. And in response, Fox shares surge after hours. Look, I don't know if it's the last chapter. We'll see.
Well, let me ask you this. We talked at length about the strategy for how this was all leaked. And there was a lot of commentary surrounding that in terms of this being very much a Murdoch move, the way this deal was first broken to the public. What's your sense of how, how that actually effectively went down? Did it ultimately hurt him?
Rupert Murdoch is incredibly savvy. Yeah, look, I think that we can quarterback all we want. They still got a very quick sense on what the reaction was to this deal, and very clearly they are dealing with a company in Time Warner that didn't want to engage with them, and you are, through that relatively public process, able to see what kind of struggles you might have to go through to get a deal done. I don't think the story changes in terms of Fox's interest in a whole host of businesses Time Warner owns, including the cable networks, where they felt there was underperformance, quite frankly, and thought that there would be an opportunity for them to grow those businesses internationally. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of different businesses out there for them to potentially consider acquiring, and they like to be liked by shareholders, hence this news on the buyback front, which
let me go back to
a story we've really seen from them.
Let me go back to Cory Johnson, who's joining us as well on this story. And Cory, I mean, might there be another player out there? I mean, as we were just talking about, the Time Warner shareholders really effectively just got their appetite whet by the thoughts of Murdoch coming in here. Anybody else waiting in the wings for them?
Yeah, they got their appetites excited, but those appetites are being dashed right now. I mean, again, I think the buyback is a crucial thing here. This takes Fox off the table as a potential bidder. The other potential big bidders out there, Comcast most notably, but you've got Comcast, you've got potential of an AT&T or Verizon, even a Dish, if they were to lever this up in some unimaginable way. Those guys are all really busy with their own acquisition deals going on right now, and wouldn't be able to hustle something like this through the FCC and the FTC anytime soon. So, Fox is really kind of alone out there as a bidder, and I think that they recognize that on some level. But this buyback suggests that this isn't just a short-term deal here. Now, a buyback right now, perhaps they're going to borrow money to buy back. They did not say that in the release, but in terms of the B shares, they've only got $5 billion in cash, $5.5 billion in cash. So you can't do a $6 billion buyback with $5.5 billion in cash.
What about the money that they got from the sale of the European assets there?
Well, you're right. They have that extra cash. They've also obviously got the free cash flow that comes out of the business that isn't already dedicated to paying down debt. They also didn't put a time frame on this buyback. But I think what this shows is that they're going to shore up the capital structure of Fox right now. And, it's Rupert Murdoch, right? We know he's going to be in the weeds there thinking about the next big deal. Maybe he's played his cards not as well as he has sometimes in the past, but we see his sort of a notion of where he might take this company in the future.
Stay with
but
me
I think
here,
for the
Cory.
near term, it's gone.
I do want to get your reaction to what Dick Parsons had to say when I sat down with him. Actually, just a week ago today, former chairman and CEO of Time Warner, I asked him if he thought a merger would actually happen here. Here's what he said in response.
I think they have their shareholder base with them. I think they know what they're doing. They have a plan going forward. And with respect, just looked at from the outside, I have no insider knowledge whatsoever. The price that was offered is way off the mark. And the form of the currency that was offered is way off the mark.
So there you go. Price no good, currency was no good.